When it comes to clubs in need of a rebuild, perhaps the most obvious example in world football right now is Valencia. This is a team that have won 6 Spanish First Division titles, have reached 2 UEFA Champions League finals in the early 2000s, and have European trophies already in their cabinet. But things aren't looking good right now for the Spanish club. They've just sacked their manager and appointed a new one, and they'll be hoping that helps, but as of right now, they're sitting in the relegation zone of the Spanish top flight, and if things don't change, they're going to go down and it could be the end of Valencia as we know it. So this is where I'm going to step in and try and save the club. And as mentioned, this isn't any club. It's one of Spain's most historic sides with a legendary stadium and great facilities. And when it comes to their trophy cabinet, there aren't many in the country that can match what Valencia have. So where is it all going wrong? Is it that their team isn't very good and they've got no good players? I don't think so. One of their best players is their star left back, Jose Gaya, who's an unreal talent. Football Manager considers Spanish midfielder Pepelu as one of the team's best. And Portuguese fullback Thierry Rendell Correa is a player that many clubs in Europe would love to have. So they've already got some good players, but they've also got some great players from their famous academy. 20-year-old centre-back Christian Mosquera could go right to the very top. Fullback Jesus Vasquez looks ready to take over Gaya's shoes as he ages. But the jewel in the crown has to be Javi Guerra, who looks like he could be a world-class midfielder in the future. So look, I'm not saying that this team should be competing for titles or anything anytime soon in Spain, but I feel like the relegation zone is a far cry from where that team should be. And Football Manager agrees. In fact, based on squad quality, they assume that Valencia will finish in 8th place with 50-1 odds of winning the title, whereas where they are right now is all the way down here in these relegation positions. Now financially, granted, there is a fair bit of debt at the club that we'll have to work off, but it's certainly not the worst situation we've ever seen. When it comes to the transfer budgets, there isn't exactly loads of money for us to be able to do business, but we'll try and get some done anyway. And I'm going to give myself 5 years as manager of this club to tweak it, make the side my own, and hopefully guide the team to a Spanish league title, a far cry away from where they are in real life. I'm going to attempt to use their academy to its best level if I can to get some of those young talents nurtured into the first team, but for right now, we've got a little bit of money to spend, so I'm going to try and tweak the squad and improve our chances of having a European finish in year 1. And in this first transfer window, I couldn't exactly go crazy, but I was able to actually make quite a few deals happen despite our limited budget, and I think we've definitely improved our squad for the future. Let's start off with the departures though, where I've let our backup right back leave the club. This is 31-year-old Dimitri Folkier, who I have sold to Werder Bremen out in the German divisions. His contract didn't exactly have ages left on it, so I've decided to let the 31-year-old go for 650,000. We free up some wages, but also get a nice transfer fee in the door. Third choice goalkeeper Jaume Domenech has also been sold on. He's gone to play for Al Ain in the United Arab Emirates at age 33. We got over £1 million for him, nearly 2 million actually, for the old goalkeeper, and I don't really think he was going to be someone that would play a big part for us anymore. But the big sale was a player that we couldn't end up hanging on to. We had a lot of interest from minute one. It's Mukhtar Diaby, who has gone to play for Inter Milan, who with the new updates Football Manager, because they lost a license, are called Blue Neri, but trust me, as you can tell by the badge, it is Inter Milan. They have paid quite a bit of money for the Ghanaian centre-back, £10 million in fact, rising to nearly 13 million through pretty easy add-ons as well. Now he is a big loss for us, but thankfully with the cash we had raised from those sales, we were able to reinvest and I think improve our side's chances long term. We started with the signing of Argentinian defender 21-year-old Valentin Gomez, who is a left-back option but mainly is here to play centre-back. He might not be on the tall side, but he is very good with the ball at his feet. He has all the attributes you could possibly want from a young defender, and he's got huge promise to go right to the very top. Now he cost us 4.5 million, rising to 5 million from the Argentinian side Vélez, where he's done very well. So I think if this works out, which I believe it will, that'll look like a bargain in a few years time. And I still felt we were pretty light at centre back, so I've brought in another young defender, 22-year-old Eduardo Quaresma, a ball-playing Portuguese centre back signed from Sporting Club de Portugal, of course out in the Portuguese divisions for only only 1.7 million. Spent a season out on loan in Germany, but now he is going to be a Valencia player, and I think offers us some great depth in that centre-back position. And in this rebuild, I am focusing mainly on this 4-3-3 system, fairly simple, but I'm hoping pretty effective. We're not going to overcomplicate it, and it does suit our best players. But speaking of our best players, here is what the game considers our best 11. In goal, we have Georgi Mamardashvili, who is only here for the year because Liverpool have actually bought him, so next season he will go to Liverpool, so that'll be a big loss. And then in defence, we have some players that you've already met, Rendel Correa and Jose Gaya in the fullback spots, with Valentin Gomez and Mosquera at the back. We've got Hugo Guillamon as our best defensive midfielder. The 24-year-old came through the academy here at Valencia and will hopefully be the linchpin in our midfield alongside Javi Guerra and Pepelu. And then going forward is where I think we lack the most. On the wings particularly, our best options are 30-year-old Luis Rioja, who doesn't exactly look like he's going to set the world alight, and left winger Diego Lopez, a 22-year-old with potential, but isn't exactly world-class looking at him right now. And then our best striker is Hugo Doro, who is a very good rounded striker, doesn't really lack in any particular area, but doesn't shine anywhere either. I'm not really sure he'll be the man long term, but right now the 24-year-old is our best forward. Now the board want us to finish in a top half position. If you actually have a look after the transfers we've done, the game still thinks we will get that top half. They think we're going to get 9th place still, 50-1 odds. Nothing has really changed there, but I'm hoping with the players we've bought in and the youth that we already have in this side, we can start developing a team here that could eventually compete for Europe. Of course, in real life, it's a relegation fight. I'm crossing my fingers it won't be that in our save. And in our first season here, I think we can be pretty happy with the job we've done, because I think we've shown this year we are not going to be in a relegation fight, at least with me as manager. In fact, we've already picked up some scalps. For example, when we played against Barcelona at home and Hugo Doro put us 1-0 up, and in the second half, a bursting run from Javi Guerra allowed us to find Diego Lopez in the area, who again pulled it back to Hugo Doro to square it in. There was also a great result against Villarreal where we managed to go 1-0 up early on, and despite having 10 men in this game, we absolutely dominated against our biggest rivals, going 2-0 up through Rendel Correa, before adding a third in the second half as Rayola went into the box and powered home. And just to seal the deal, we decided to add a fourth late on, Gaia down the left finding Raya in the box again, and results like that really helped us this season to a fantastic league finish. Because in year one, we have already secured a 4th place position, a Champions League spot, which is amazing. Now granted, there's a lot of work to be done, 15 points between us and anyone in the top 3, and we're miles off the title, but we were 5 points clear of Valladolid in 5th place. We had a good season. Now granted, teams like Villarreal, Betis, Sociedad, Sevilla all weren't really on top of their game. That might explain why a team such as Valladolid was able to finish so high, but Hugo Doro was really good this season. Clearly I doubted him for the wrong reasons, scored a ton of goals, and this team, who are fighting a relegation battle in real life, in this save are going to be playing Champions League football next year. And who do we have to thank for it? Well, there is a real shock with Diego Lopez, who ended up being our best player this season. I didn't really rate him that highly looking at him before, but he's developed really well, and the 23-year-old scored 14 and assisted 11 in La Liga in only 32 appearances. A fantastic performance from him. 26 goals from Hugo Doro in all competitions. On top of that, we had the fullbacks performing great, Guillamon and Guerra also doing well too. We cannot complain with the first year's performance here, and it bodes very well for the future of this club, with a lot of these guys being fairly young talents. But this is where the real fun begins now, because we actually have a real transfer budget in season 2, £27 million to spend, and these are the bits that I enjoy the most, because now we have the chance to clear out a bunch of players I don't want, sign loads of players that I do want, and completely overhaul this team in season 2, or at least that's what I'm going to try and do. And I've got to say, considering we haven't absolutely broke the bank on some of the signings I'm about to show you, I think we've done some excellent business here with Valencia. But before you see that, if you could smash the like button on the video, it really helps me out. I know you hear every YouTuber say it, you hear me say it every video, but it really does. You hit that like button, YouTube spreads the video to more people, thinks it's amazing, and it really helps support me. So thank you to anybody who does that, and make sure as well you are subscribed. It's a long shot, but I'm aiming for 50k subs by my birthday, which is early April. April of next year. This should be coming out maybe just at the start of 2025 actually, so happy new year to anyone who is watching this. But yes, fingers crossed we can get as close to 50k as possible, so if you're not yet subscribed and you enjoy the content, make sure you do so. But now that's covered, let's start with the sales that we made in this transfer window. Firstly, we started with a clear out of those players that were in the squad that I did not think were good enough. So we had Alberto Mari leave the club to join Legans in the Spanish First Division for 700k. Ere Comer is a Swiss 27-year-old defender who hasn't exactly been at Valencia for long, but had a good season at Valladolid, had your interest from Schalke, and I've sold him on for 1.5 million. German Valera also left, the Lithuanian winger who has gone to sign for Dusseldorf in Germany's top flight for 300,000. And former Brentford man Sergi Canos has signed for Vallecano in the Spanish leagues for 850k. Signed for us for way cheaper than that, so it's a quick easy flip. But maybe the most disappointing sale of this window is Jesus Vasquez. Now the reason for this is kind of out of my control. So at this point he had 1 year left on his contract. He was a very promising left back, but wasn't getting game time because Jose Gaya is the best player at the club in his position. So he basically has to wait for Gaya to leave before he'll get the game time. Unfortunately, Gaya is not going anywhere anytime soon, so Vasquez kicked up a fuss, said he wanted to leave, would not sign a contract, and with only a year left, it was either use him and lose him for free, or sell him now for a bit of money. So we've decided to sell him £400,000 to Hellas Verona. It's absolutely nothing, but it's better than nothing. And then I've decided to move on one of our goalkeeping options. This was the man that was number 2 to Mamardashvili last season, Stole Dmitrievski. He is a North Macedonian international goalkeeper, 31 years of age, who we have sold to Brentford for £2.6 million because we have a new number 1 in town. But that brings us on to the signings, where I think we've got some great talent to add to this team. Before you see that though, just to let you know, if you want to continue this save yourself or you want to support me as a creator, I do have a Patreon linked in the description. If you want to come join the 500 plus members that we've got over there, we offer everything from the save files to early access watching of these rebuilds. This would have been on Patreon for a few days now for those guys to watch, ad free of course. There'll be giveaways coming soon, and also you can vote for what rebuild you want to see next. Obviously when you comment a team on the video, I try and take it on board, but the patrons have the priority, and then they get listed on Patreon in a poll, and then people vote for what they want to see. So Valencia was decided by the Patreon. All of the ones we've done in the past have been decided by them too. So if you want to get involved in any of this, the save files, the early access videos, or you just want to be nice and support me in the new year, then I'd really appreciate anyone who goes and checks it out. But let's get back to the transfers in, where as mentioned, we have a new number 1, and it's quite a controversial one actually. It's Luis Jr., a 24-year-old Brazilian. Now you might have saw him earlier in the highlights when we played Villarreal. He was in goal for the club's biggest rivals as we smashed them 4-0, but he had a release clause. We were able to prize him away for 8.75 million, and whilst he has played for Villarreal, which might make the Valencia fans hate him, it was only for 1 season. He didn't exactly do great for them, so maybe you can forgive him, and now hopefully he can win the Valencia fans over in the net for us, because I think he's a great option for that price. I then picked up an extra attacking threat to back up Hugo Doro and potentially compete for that striking spot. It's 23-year-old Sebastian Esposito. He's an Italian former under-21 international who was playing for Inter Milan, but has been loaned out every which way, to be honest with you. Had a fairly okay season at Empoli, but was let go at the end of his deal. So for a free transfer, I don't think you can turn your nose up at this. And then I've gone to Bayern Munich to sign a Spaniard. 24-year-old Brian Zaragoza was on the transfer list at the German Giants for £4.9 million, and I think, to be honest, he is going to come in as one of our best wing talents. He's certainly better than a lot of what we had, and I think he's going to really help us and be a bargain at that price. So like I say, I didn't go crazy in the market with loads of players bought in. I really am trusting some of the young talent we've already got here and just adding the additions I felt we need, but this is now what is considered the best 11. Most things stay the same, but Luis Jr. makes his way into the team, as does Cenk Ozkakar, whose name I've definitely butchered here, but he is a Turkish defender who spent last season out on loan at Valladolid, but now comes back to us and is considered our best in defence. But outside of those, the midfield stays exactly the same, and the attack also exactly the same, but there are some better options now throughout the team. We are looking at some of those young players in the academy, and some of them I think have a very bright future, but as of right now, I don't think there's too many to promote. But as we go into our second season, already playing Champions League football, we are expected now to be one of the teams competing for the top. We are expected to finish in 4th place, 25 to 1 odds of winning that that trophy. So clearly the game rates what we're doing here already with Valencia. The board are also expecting us to qualify for the Europa League, so they're expecting a 5th, 6th place performance, so we really need to be on the ball. This season is a whole different kettle of fish playing Champions League football, but fingers crossed, if all goes well, we're going to have another successful season, but only time will tell if that's actually going to happen. And once again in Season 2, I think we have proved that this Valencia team has got a lot more to it than people might realise. But of course, this was our first year in the Champions League. And how did we do? Well, we made it out of the league phase, did well enough to make it in to the knockout playoff round. Who would have thought it? Season 2 and already in a Champions League knockout game. We went away to Monaco for our biggest test yet and found ourselves 1-0 down early on. Thankfully, we were able to pull a goal back, a brilliant strike from Pepelu on the half-time mark. But our first leg in France ended in defeat as Wonderkids got down the right hand side, played a ball in, and Golovin gave Monaco the win. So we headed into leg 2 a goal down, and very early on we managed to equal the scores, Mosquera of all people dancing around the defence. But it didn't stay level for long because Monaco got up the other end, Wonderkids into Lopez, who managed to score from close. And before we knew it, that 1 goal gap became 2 as Wonderkids again got down our right hand side, played a cross through, and it was Golovin once more to put the nail in the coffin. Thankfully, we were able to get 1 goal back on the 90-minute mark, but it wasn't going to be enough. So we came crashing out in the knockout round of the Champions League, but I still think that was a pretty good performance to even get to that stage. But speaking of good performances, our La Liga run this year was so good. Because once again, we finish in 4th place. It's more of your stereotypical Big Six at this point now though, with the likes of Villarreal and Sevilla stepping up a little bit, but we still finish 6 points ahead of rivals Villarreal. We're a lot closer as well now to 3rd place, who was Real Madrid this year, with Atletico and Barcelona really pulling away at the top. It's easy to forget in these rebuilds as we improve our squad that all these teams are going to be doing the same. They are very strong teams and it's going to be very hard to catch them, but to secure Champions League football again can only really be of benefit to us. And it was pretty much the usual suspects that performed for us this year. Gaia and Guerra, we had a great debut season from Luis Jr. And a player I actually forgot to show you earlier that we signed did really well. This is Carol Lanetti, who is a free agent that we picked up right at the end of the window, hence why you guys might not have saw him. He was a free agent from Torino. He came in and he did a pretty good job for us in fact. Played quite a few times, was only expected to be an impact sub, and did exactly that role for us. So thank you to Lanetti. But Esposito also was half decent in his first year here. 29 goals once again from Hugo Doro is exceptional numbers. Mosquera, Oscasar all doing really well. Zaragoza and Pepelu also on the score sheet, and Lopez and Rayola also getting goals, but Lopez's year, it must be said, nowhere near as good as year 1, but that would have been very hard to repeat. But either way, we are now 2 seasons in. The club is looking in a very good position because we have been upgrading the facilities. We're going to a new stadium soon as well, an even bigger stadium than what we currently have. And transfers wise, we've got £43 million to spend, so we really can, if we want now, start bringing in some stars. With back-to-back Champions League football and the budgets we've got, we should be able to attract some of the best talent from Europe. So it's our 3rd transfer window now with Valencia, and I feel like this is the window where we've made the most improvements so far. I think the players we've signed are going to take us to another level and might even help us in some kind of potential title push. Let's start with the sales first though, as always, and it was Fran Perez who was first to leave the club, going to join Legons in the 1st division for 6.25 million. Now he is someone that came out the academy, has had a pretty big role in the Valencia first team for us over the last couple of years, but wasn't crucial. And with the players we bought in, I thought it made sense to let him go for a decent fee before his contract was up. Carol Lanetti gave us 1 good season off the bench and now has got a permanent deal out at Sassuolo, so back to Italy he goes, and we make £2 million, rising to nearly £3 million on a player we got for nothing. Andre Almeida has left for the Portuguese division, signing for Sporting Club de Portugal for a fee of £6 million, which is pretty much what Valencia paid from originally. He's been a decent squad level player for 2 years, but again, I think we've improved in that position. Hugo Gonzalez has also left. He was a wing option, now 23 years of age, who I just didn't think was that great, so he's gone to Betis for 1.2 mil. Valentin Gomez has also left due to a lack of game time. He wanted out, didn't play as much as he wanted last season, only 11 starts, was refusing a new deal, so I thought, you know what, let's sell him before it gets any worse, because we're only improving, so he's just going to fall behind the curve. We sold him for 5 million, we signed him for 5 million. It doesn't really affect us in any way, but he helped us for a couple of years. But then we have a major sale, one that's really going to affect our team and just the whole dynamic of Valencia, to be honest, because one of the best players at the club, one of the most legendary players, as you can tell, in the Valencia history, Jose Gaya, has left to sign for Al Ittihad on a mega contract, age 31. He gets us a huge fee of 82 million, which is amazing for a player that came through the academy. But after 2 great years for us, particularly last season, we are losing out on a great player, but we got 80 million pounds for him. Our first incoming was a 19-year-old by the name of Albert Navarro, one for the future, who we signed for free from Barcelona. We also pick up the Manchester City academy player, James McAtee, who I think is going to really take our midfield to another level. A very well-developed midfielder who's great on the ball and has a real eye for a pass, who we have signed for nothing after he was let go by City. We've got a new number 2 in the net for Luis Jr., someone to back him up. This is Diego Altuve, nothing exciting, but a 26-year-old Spaniard from Almeria. Brian Hill has also signed on a free from Tottenham, having been let go on his contract there, and I think he's a great addition for that left-hand side. We've got Zaragoza, Gil, amongst many other wing players now, who I think are a much higher level than what we originally had. He's been on loan at Valencia before, he's also been to Sevilla and Girona since, but now he's going to be a permanent Valencia player. Jose Gaya was sold for 82 million, and for only 2 million pounds, I've got his replacement, and if this works, it could be a great turnaround. This is 26-year-old Leonardo Lello, who is in the prime of his career, a very good player, a former under-21 Portuguese international, signed from Cassiopeia in the Portuguese leagues for only 2.2 million, which could prove to be the bargain of the season. I then signed a backup right back, some cover for Rendo Correa in the form of Wan Lu, who joins us from Sevilla for 5 million pounds, where hopefully he'll grow to become eventually our starting fullback. Maxime Decker is a new defender option that we have bought in from AZ Alkmaar. The former Eredivisie player is signed for 15 million. He's a good defender already, but could grow in to one of the best in the team. But our final signing cost a little bit less at 13 million pounds. It's our new midfielder, the 21-year-old Tom Bischoff, who is ready to play at a first team level already and will be one of our best. A great passer, great defensively too, signing from Hoffenheim for 13 million, where he's already got 2 seasons of full Bundesliga football under his belt, only 21, so he is going to go on to do big things, I'm sure. And 3 seasons in now in this Valencia rebuild, and I'm very much liking the team we've built. I think that defence is very good, obviously not Real Madrid, Barcelona level just yet, but I'm very happy with the players we've got there. The midfield is strong, and our forward line I think is looking much better now. Zaragoza comes in, Diego Lopez and Duro still hold their spots, but we know they're good players, but now there's actually some competition for them in the forms of the likes of Brian Hill and whatnot. But having been predicted a 4th place finish last time with 25-1 odds of winning the title, we're again predicted 4th, but not expected to do as well this time. Javi Guerra though breaking in to be one of the best players in the league according to this chart, and I feel like this could be a big season for us. Obviously first year was 70 points, the year after 75. Now again we've got Champions League football. We want to try and win a cup, we want to win La Liga too. There's a lot at stake here, but this year what I'd like to see is just an improvement on the year before and really set ourselves up for those final 2 seasons at the club. But how are we going to do in season 3? And in our 3rd year at the club, I don't exactly think we've made any great strides from season 1 or 2 just yet, but I feel like we are slowly improving, and that was proved by the fact that once again, we'd made it into the knockout playoff round, but this time, it was a harder tie than Monaco. In the Champions League, we were facing off against AC Milan. And the home leg unfortunately didn't go great. We actually lost 1-0 at our stadium through Rafael Leao's brilliant goal. So we were heading to the San Siro, 1 goal down, hoping to make that round of 16, and early on, Brian Hill got us back in the match. And in the second half, we were able to add a second, Hugo Doro from a free kick to put us in the lead. But of course, AC Milan at home, they're going to have quality, and Pulisic found Leao to equalise. And it took all the way until the 90th minute for the game to be decided. You can probably tell based on who's attacking who got the goal. Brian Zaragoza into Brian Gill, and that was now taking us to the round of 16 of the Champions League. We were drawn against Liverpool, and we were hoping we could give them a match. But they say it's the hope that killed you, and it certainly did here, because in 2 legs we lost 9-1. Let's not talk about it too much. Liverpool were better than us. But when it came to the league table, things were looking a little bit different, because this year we've gone back to our points total of season 1, back down to 70 points, still clear of 5th place, which I guess is all you can really ask. Villarreal really falling away this season, and we're pretty close to Atletico now as well in terms of the points gap, but Real Madrid and Barcelona really cruising out ahead. This time it's Real who go on and win the title, but right now it's still just those 2 clubs dominating. We're really going to need to step it up in year 4 and 5 if we want to actually win some silverware here. And I can't really tell what our flaws are. Obviously our players aren't expected to win a league just yet, we're not that kind of club, but we're scoring goals, we're keeping goals out of the net as well. I mean, we've got 22 from Doro, 7 from Pepelu, 10 from Gil, 10 from Diego Lopez, 5 from McAtee, 5 from our centre-back, we've got Guillemon scoring as well. Lots of goals being scored, not too many being conceded, but it's not quite enough just yet. But I think I know a way that we can make things start working, because we have got a big budget, and actually after our last season when we lost Gaia, we barely spent any of that money either, so we haven't really spent crazy with this team just yet. So I think now it's time that we start taking some liberties with the cash we've got, start bringing in some players. We seem to be sustainably in the Champions League, so that's going to help financially, so we might be able to bring in some stars. And I said in this window I wanted to add some star players, and I think with the quality we've brought in, we can definitely say we did that. A few outgoings to note. The first one is a loan for a player that I really wanted to point out, because our academy has developed this young right back / left back by the name of Martin, who can play either side, and Sevilla are already desperate enough that they want to loan him in to play regularly for them, which shows just how good he is. Already valued at 50 million, looks to be a future Spanish international, a great player and a future wonderkid, and I'm delighted that he's came through, because he, in hopefully season 5 when he comes back, will be a star for us. We've now sold Eduardo Quaresma on a permanent deal as well. Signing in season 1, he is now leaving us to go and join Sevilla for £3.7 million, rising potentially to 5 million, so we make a profit. One that we lose out on a little bit though is Maxime Decker, who came in and didn't get the game time that he wanted and therefore wanted to leave. So we lose about half the money that we originally paid on him, make near enough 10 million from Las Palmas, so it's not the worst in the world, but sometimes you have to accept when a transfer doesn't work. And then there's Sebastian Esposito, who came to us on a free, managed to score a few goals over a few years, but I felt like we needed someone better to challenge Hugo Doro. He was never really going to do it, so he's moved to Saudi for nearly 10 million quid. But let's get into the incomings, where signing on a free is a Valencia player of the past, Carlos Soler, who spent so many years at Valencia, was one of their key players, got a big move to PSG, went to West Ham on loan, now is back at PSG, but in our world, he was available as a free agent, and we have bought him in, age 30, as a multi-talented midfielder who I think can take us to another level now. We've also signed a wonderkid for the future, Damar Taranis, who is a Serbian 18-year-old defender playing at Red Star Belgrade, who we signed for only 6 million and loaned him out for the next season. Yes, it's a lot for an 18-year-old in the Serbian leagues, but realistically, with the attributes he's got at that age, he is going to be world-class, so I'm happy to sign him. And I said I wanted a better backup striker, so what better than Samu Omoroidian? The 23-year-old Spaniard is going to be our backup for Hugo Doro and hopefully can push past him. In real life, he's tearing it up for Porto in the FM world, didn't do too much after signing, mainly played for Porto B, but when he did play for the Porto first team, it was 8 goals in 11 games. They were missing a trip by not playing him. He was on the transfer list. 15 million we bought him in for, a bargain deal. But our biggest signing in terms of transfer value is a new star centre-back, someone that comes in as way better than anyone else in that position. 6'4", left-footed French defender Maxime Esteve, starting from Burnley, where in the Championship he has been a class apart. I don't know how he's still there. We paid £28 million for him, and I think he comes in as probably one of the best centre-backs in the whole of La Liga. And at this point, I'm very happy with our team. In fact, whilst it's not Champions League winning quality, I feel if we'd been in the Europa League or the Conference League, we'd have a very good chance of winning at that kind of level. Currently, Luis Jr. is still our number 1 and developing nicely in the net. Rendel Carrera is still about, Esteve of course, and Cenk Özkasar is also still playing and doing really well in that back line. Personally, never really heard of him in real life, but when he came back from that loan in season 1, he seems to have taken to the club like a duck to water. A very strong midfield as well now, with Sola being introduced. McAtee, Lopez and Duro make up that forward line, and if we have a little drum roll for our season 4 preview in La Liga, we are expected, again, 4th place, 25-1 odds of winning the league. Esteve considered the 4th best player in the division. Javi Guerra also considered one of the best. In fact, Esteve considered better than Araujo in this FM world, which shows you he's obviously came on a lot at Burnley, and I think we've got a great player there, and fingers crossed this is all going to work out for us in our 4th year. I'd love to win a trophy at some point soon. I feel like the team's ready, but we need to really push on and show what we can do. And this year, I think we can finally say we have made some huge leaps, some huge bounds this year in terms of the quality of how we are performing on the pitch. We'll get to the league in a minute, in the Champions League, but for the first time in a domestic cup, we had made it into a late stage. In fact, in the Copa del Rey, we had made it to the semi-final, where in the first leg against Granada, our opposition, we lost 3-1, but when they came to our stadium, Hugo Doro made it 3-2, and with 50 minutes on the clock, we again went forward and we were able to level the tie through Diego Lopez's strike. So one goal would give either of these teams a place in the Copa del Rey final, and thankfully the chance fell to us, Albert Navarro into the box, Samuel Moroidian rising highest, scoring a crucial goal. So into a final we went, and we were up against maybe the biggest competition possible in a Copa del Rey final, Real Madrid. And it was always going to be a tough encounter, but that was proved pretty early on when Tchouaméni burst down the right hand side and Vinicius Jr. put his side in front. Hugo Doro though managed to equalise from the spot on the 34-minute mark, and only a couple minutes later we were able to take the lead through Carlos Soler to put us in front in a Copa del Rey final. But Real Madrid are obviously used to winning trophies and they weren't going to let us win that easily, and Mbappe into Camavinga, who had far too much space to equalise. But in the 82nd minute, Samuel Moroidian with a deflected shot into Mosquera, the academy graduate scoring a winner in a Copa del Rey final for the club's first trophy in ages against Real Madrid nonetheless. The Champions League, we had made it to a round of 16 again, this time just losing out to Spurs in a penalty defeat. But alongside winning our Copa del Rey this season, we had a brilliant performance in the La Liga, and we actually finished in second place, 84 points, level with Barcelona apparently, the same goal difference as Real Madrid, but only 6 points away from a title. 84 points is a massive improvement for us compared to previous years, and it just shows we are coming on leaps and bounds now in this save. And I think in this final season, I'm not sure we'll win the title, but it's definitely going to be close, and we can actually give these big clubs a run for their money. Way more points than before, a fantastic year, and there's a few players to thank for it. I think we've just found some extra goals from all over the pitch. We've got Moroidian scoring 16, McAtee this year scores 15, Javi Guerra with 8, alongside Doro's usual 20-odd goals, 10 coming in from Diego Lopez as well, and Carlos Soler rejoining the club and scoring 15. So we got a lot more goals this season from different parts of the pitch. Moroidian and McAtee proving vital goal scorers over the course of this season. So I think we can be very, very happy with all we've achieved this year. And we head into our final season in our Nuevo Mestalla Stadium, our new stadium with great facilities as well. We've got lots of great young players coming through who I'll introduce you to in a minute. But now we're heading into our 5th and final season with nearly £1 million of wage budget, £73 million of transfer budget. And you know what that means. We are going to have some fun in the transfer market. And this window, I think we have smashed it. We've got some great players for the future, some to help the team right now, and I think if any of you continue to save on Patreon, you're going to have some stars for the future to develop a mega team here that could eventually win the UCL, I think, if you play it right. If you have enjoyed the video up to this point, make sure you smash a like button for me. It's the last time I'll ask, but let's go and take a look at our final set of transfers here at Valencia. And it's a goodbye to a long-standing member of the squad. Pepelu has left to sign for Al Rayed out in Saudi. He has left for 9.75 million, joined a few years ago from Levante, never really put a foot wrong for us, and has been a great servant over the years. And we've also saw the departure of Brian Zaragoza, who has again gone to Al Rayed out in Saudi. They've given us 10 million for the Spanish winger, who is good, but I think we've got better options now. Just to note, one of the young players we've loaned out as well, one for the future if you do continue to save, Nuti Solushi is a Romanian defender that came through in the academy. He's an international already, going to be a Wonderkid, and is playing at Vallecano for the year. But let's get into the incomings, where we have bought through Lionel Acosta, who we actually signed a few years ago, but he's been out on loan Independiente. He was signed for 4.8 million, and now he's going to join us permanently. And I mean, look at that player. I mean, if you retrained him as a striker, one of the world's best, I would have thought, with some of those attributes, but on the left, he is going to be exceptional for us, I'm sure. Another one for the future, Alessandro Gualdiolo is an Italian 18-year-old who we picked up from Udinese and loaned him back for the year, similar to what we did with that previous player. £5 million for him to continue his development in Serie A. Our eventual successor to Luis Jr. and perhaps one of the world's best young goalkeepers, Nelda Montero, has joined us. He was a Wonderkid that has spawned in the Colombian leagues, and we have bought him in for only 850k. I mean, crazy for the player we've just got. He is going to be world class. But to help us right now on the right wing, we have picked up a 4-star player apparently in Teles Magno, a 26-year-old who is considered as good as anyone really on the wing for us, been exceptional in the US and also Brazil, so 30 million I think is a bargain for what we're getting. But for any of you who are wondering what happened to Martin, the academy player, well, his loan went pretty well out at Sevilla. He actually played a fair amount considering he was only 17 at one of the biggest clubs in Spain, but now he comes back to us, certainly ready to make his mark. What a player he is. Probably one of the best Wonderkids I've ever seen from an academy in a team that I've managed. But as we head into our final season, this is now our best 11 here at Valencia. Luis Jr. alongside Randall Correa, who has been here since the start, so fair play to him. Esteve, Lelo and Oscazar, again, been here from the start, so it just shows there are some real talents already in this Valencia squad. Guillimon, Guerra continue that theme, as does Lopez and Doro, but McAtee and Sola are additions that we've added ourselves. But it's the bench where I think we really shine now, with all of those players being considered, I'd say, good enough to be starters for most other teams in the league. So I think we're in a really good place now to have a great crack at it in our final season. We are 18-1 title odds, the best we've had so far, 4th place prediction in the league, but we know we can do better than Atletico. I'm hoping we can do better than Barcelona, and maybe if all goes well, we can knock Real Madrid off their perch and win a La Liga title. And in our final season here at Valencia, we have had some real highs, but also some real lows. So let's start off with the worst of it, which was the Copa del Rey. And remember, we won that last season. This time we did not. We were playing against a team called Urens, who I'm not even sure are a professional club. And we eventually got battered by them. I mean, you can see here they're already 1-0 up. Before you know it, it was 2-0. We did our best to battle on as the game went on. Bischoff playing through Samuel Moroidian, who made it 2-1. And thankfully, we got another to equalise to get away from any kind of embarrassment through Nunes. Also, we fought because with around 85 minutes on the clock, Hosselu found his way through. I don't know if it is the actual Hosselu that we all know, but he slotted it in and we were knocked out by I don't even know who. And no, I just checked. It's not the Hosselu that you're thinking of. It's a player that's getting £2 a week who's worth about £10,000 scoring twice against us. Crazy stuff really. But of course, during this whole save, we've been battling out in the UCL, getting no further than a round of 16, but this year we had made it once again to that stage. And it was against Arsenal who we were facing off against, and we've been blasted by Premier League clubs down the line in this save. But in this one, Arsenal did go 1-0 up, having drawn 1-1 in leg 1. So it was 2-1 Arsenal at our new stadium, but in the second half, we ended up turning it on. Leonardo Lelo getting down the left and playing into Carlos Sola to make it 2-2. And we took the lead in the 72nd minute when Thierry Randall Correa played in the ball and Omaroidian rose highest to head home. Arsenal weren't giving up though, and they pounced on a defensive mistake from us to create a chance in the 90th minute. Gabriel Jesus onto a player called Odegaard, who you might have heard of. He scored to draw the game, but in extra time, we created a chance from a corner, headed home, and we won the match, and we had made the quarter-final for the first time in the Champions League so far in this save. It's taken a while to get there, but we did. Unfortunately, we got knocked out by Inter Milan, but it was definitely a good run. But it was the league where we had the most joy this season, because we ended up winning the whole thing. 93 points, beating Barcelona, not Real Madrid this time around, way ahead of Atletico, ahead of Real Madrid by 5 points, but Barca took us all the way, the same amount of losses, the same amount of draws, but I think it goes to head here in the Liga based on the goal difference, and the fact that they lost to us twice, both home and away, got us the advantage in the end. We drew 3 against some pretty decent clubs, we lost 5, some of which I would have liked to have won, but either way, we have got a league title with Valencia, which I didn't think was going to happen, to be honest. I thought the Copa del Rey was going to be the success story, but considering the club is being relegated near enough in real life, we have done a great job here. The reputation is looking good, the facilities are great, the stadium is massive. If we have a look at the club background as well, Jose Gaia has gone down as the biggest legend in Valencia history, which might be a little bit far-fetched, but apparently that is the case. If we look at the team we built as well, it's full of some great young players who are going to develop into stars in the future, I'm sure. Financially, 275 million the overall balance, nothing in the debts and loans, and if you continue to save on Patreon, you've got £100 million to spend and £1 million of wage budget. You could make this team a UCL contender. I was trying to be as frivolous as possible in this save, but if you go for it, I'm sure you could make it happen. Just don't discount some of those academy players, because some of them are so good. And the one I just want to point out, I wouldn't normally do this, but just to finish off this video, I think he is the best Wonderkid I've ever seen from an academy that I've produced, because Martin, I mean, he's 18, as a Spanish international. Look how good he is. He is going to be a legend here. Already 16 leadership. He'll be the best player in Valencia history, I am going to say. We've got a release clause of him of 150 mil. Hopefully none of you lose him. Let me know if any of you develop him and how he gets on. But thank you for watching. Thank you for a great 2024. Hopefully 2025 is even better. But I'll see you next time. Goodbye.